Dr. Warner, this is the Global Digest think tank group. You are our guest for today. Why don't you introduce briefly to our audience, please?
Sure. My name is Professor Dr. Werner Krings, and I've dedicated the past 30 years to advancing B2B marketing, business development, consulting, and digital transformation across Europe and North America. I'm originally a German, and now I'm a dual citizen. I'm also US American, and now I'm in this lovely country of India, which is about to become, I think, the third largest nation in terms of the gross domestic income by 2030-31. Now, my journey began with studies in business and economics, leading to a doctorate from Henley Business School. I've studied in Germany, Switzerland, the US, Canada, England, also taught in Vietnam, in Oxford for French Business School, a Grande École. And today I'm here in this fortunate position at Voxen University in Hyderabad. It's sort of the upcoming Ivy League business school in India. It has been founded 10 years ago, and within 10 years, they have accelerated and they have mastered it to become a Triple Crown accredited business school. Now, it's a bit similar to Harvard and Stanford in the last century. They are very agile. They produce, I met professors, they produce 20 journal articles in top journals, whereas in Europe and in the US, the average throughput is about 3 to 4. So that's quite amazing. And I would say the advantage or the value proposition of Voxen University is to collaborate, to share, to really strive for excellence. And that is why I really accepted this opportunity. And my areas are now in international or global marketing to digital transformation, and also bit AI with social capital. And my aim or my purpose is really to empower leaders to navigate the global landscape. And that is, of course, also true for Asia Pacific. Now, my research focuses currently on how centimillionaires approach higher education, blending wealth purpose and social responsibility. Now, from the resources on this globe, everybody of us can be a billionaire. I mean, I do not want to rock the boat of the Club of Rome. That is very limited. Everything is very limited in resources. But if we use our mindset, if we create this prosperous mindset, and Indians are very fortunate to do so, reflection, resilience, then you can literally come up with innovations on the fly. And there's this very famous Indian heart surgeon. I did a global MBA case study about, he really transformed the whole heart surgery area. The American US counterpart, Dartmouth College, is not as productive as this Indian heart surgeon in terms of numbers, but also quality, in terms of medical procedures. So this was it was a huge example for me. And when I heard about Voxen 2 years ago, I knew this would be a unique opportunity. They transform the higher education market. And so they collaborate among, I think they have 7 schools, from architecture over liberal arts, business, technology, just to name a few. So it's very exciting to be here. And so I'm now sort of on a work visa here because we have an international faculty. We have top universities here represented from India, but also from Western nations such as Columbia University, IE from Spain. I I do currently a global program at Warwick, which is a Russell Group university. We have Cornell. We have leading universities from Germany, from all over the world, from Africa, from South and Latin America. So it's sort of this hub where our Indian colleagues targeted some international colleagues to collaborate and to accelerate the research processes.
I see.
And acceleration has been, for me, in the last few years, also in business development, a major topic, how you can, for example, leverage LinkedIn or other social media to optimize, to build trust, credibility, and to streamline the often siloed function in a company.
So India has the biggest population in the world, and
Yes,
and
that's
huge
true. Yeah.
huge
Yes.
territory. I guess there are a lot of industry and factory, a lot of business, different sector, and a lot of
Yes.
IT sector also very famous in India. You have much cheaper, I think, labor resources. So
Yes.
what will be the most potential you see in India, and what business strategy you see there is very people like
So
it?
that's a very good question. Thank you for raising this. So my first impression of Indians, which come to my mind, as I can talk about the colleagues I work here now for over months, they are very diligent. Now I'm from Germany, and that's one of our core traits, which was very important to rebuild after World War II, the economy. And now here in India, people are diligent. They are solving problems often in a fraction of time, like in Europe or in the US, because they are highly motivated, they are highly educated, and also they are highly gifted. Yeah, smart people.
I see. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's similar to Europe or America. You have anybody can set up business and they can make
Yes.
very convenient and comfortable to do business in India. What are the most
Yes.
struggle? Is there any regulation barrier or difficulty?
Yes. That, that
What
that's
what
a very
are
good.
what
Yes.
are good points and what are negative points?
Yes. Now let me say this. Uh, it was very challenging to get a work visa for India, and now Germany invests a lot in development aid in India. So does the US and the G7, I guess. And the Indians usually do not want to have foreign employees. It's very difficult to get a visa. Now, if I tell you how long it took me to get a visa, I would say it was easier to get my green card and my US citizenship. Now, you have to understand the reason for this is that India has the largest population. And so, of course, their ambition is first to serve the Indian population to ensure that they are employed. Now, in the academic field, of course, India is very smart. And now we have a lot of people from India all over the world. They are known as the great networker. I'm a networker. And so this is a very a strong skill of Indians. They are very likable people. They are very cordial people. They treasure relationships. But now to answer your question, to set up a business is a bit challenging because India insists, also the Indian government insists that 51%, the majority, has to be held by an Indian. Now I have a startup currently for a platform, which I probably implement with Boston University. And for that purpose, I have to probably found a company either in the US, in Massachusetts, in New England, where I'm located, or in close to Berlin, Germany. And then, of course, I will integrate Indian colleagues because they help me to transform my idea, my vision into technology, be it artificial intelligence, blockchain, machine learning, and what else is involved. So this is the only stipulation. And the other one is you cannot acquire property. Now, if you come as an Indian to Germany, the Indian government prohibits you to take on a second citizenship. Now, I cannot take on the Indian citizenship, and I talked yesterday to our law professor and dean, who mentioned he and his wife are Americans, and he's living and working here already for several years. So that is, of course, a bit a culture challenge. Now, I don't know how this is. My vice president, his wife is Indian. I don't know if he has already a dual citizen or if this is possible if your spouse or your kids are born in India.
I see. Maybe
Yeah.
those visa issue and property issue are not much open in India.
Yeah.
And as you said, there are a lot of good things and also those negative things. So you are teaching about B2B marketing. What is
Yeah,
the concept of
yes.
B2B marketing?
So B2B marketing is about business to business. In contrast, you have business to consumer, which is usually characterized by very short sales cycles, as a B2C. You do not deal with a group of stakeholders unless you have husband, wife, and their kids making a decision like about a particular travel goal. In B2B, you deal with large organizations where you have to align stakeholder groups. You have to market towards the chief of technology, the CIO. If you do, for example, a cybersecurity software, you have to bring the CFO on board. And of course, the CEO might sign off. And so this is characterized by business cycles, which might range from 4 months to 48 months of 4 years. And of course, then you have different functions in a company like business development, marketing, sales, and often they are in misalignment. This means they are sort of the kingdoms in a company, and they often compete instead of collaborate. Now here at Boxen, they are very ahead of the game because they have this aligned. We collaborate, we share, we work closely with our business development director. I recommended already that to connect after our video. And so we are very much in alignment. So instead of competition or egocentric departments, we try to align and collaborate. That saves us, of course, work, and it helps us to be unified. And when we do, for example, a client meeting, we do not cut each other's throats. We are respectful, and we really serve the customer as a team, as a cohesive team. And this, of course, translates then into positive energy, and the customer notices that we are really collaborative, we are sharing, and we are working for the ultimate goal to really advance education, to cater to our, we have MBA students, we have bachelor students. We want them to be very well prepared for leadership roles so they can transform the society from the inside out. That's our purpose.
So
And
can you say
yeah,
B2B is dealing mainly with the companies and industry
yes,
fund, not the
yes.
individual customer?
Now this is a very uh, correct statement. Now, picture, for example, when you market a big software package, like a cloud technology-based um, solution, or like SAP, or like uh, a manufacturing solution software for the aerospace industry, for the pharmaceutical industry, or for the government. So you deal with multiple stakeholders, and those decision processes are very complex. Uh, they require that you really tailor your approach, your um, it might be a proof of concept or request for proposal to um, make each stakeholder involved understand what is the benefit to their particular role. Let me give you here an example. Let's say you market uh, manufacturing software. So you might talk to the VP of manufacturing. You might hold this as, out as a pilot. And of course, we deal often with global companies, and therefore you want to ensure that the company gets a very good return on investment of it. Now, instead of having separated softwares for the different plants, you might collaborate with the Center of Excellence and then tailor your proposal to not only the manufacturing area, but you have to convince the CFO that it is financially feasible, that it helps them to drive recurring income by optimizing the manufacturing process. And of course, it has to align also with the software or business administrative part of the company. So there are a lot of different functions involved, and there are, of course, a lot of different characters involved. Now, vice president of manufacturers, they are very much into engineering. Similar as CIO, they are very much interested to get a scalable software that integrates very well with other software packages as well. And of course, they want the latest technology. And then you have accounting, finance, and they look at, of course, the financial investments and um, how quick they might write this off, to be here very simplified. And then you have, of course, the people. They are very important. If you introduce a major software, you have to deal with the board, with the workers' council, with HR. So you have to align all this. And consequently, this leads then to slower sales cycles or longer sales cycles because you have to convince and get the commitment or buy-in of these very diverse types of buyers. Now, here at Boston University, I'm currently doing global marketing and strategy. And the nice thing is, it's not just global marketing and strategy to market products, but you can, if you understand cultural intelligence, you can also be of help for governments, for politicians. When you understand, for example, that certain countries are more high context, others are low context, and you tailor your approach, then you, instead of burning bridges or offending people, you can build very valuable relationships in business. And if you understand this, if you make the case for cultural intelligence, if politicians use it, they improve, of course, their international collaboration.
I see. So you also teach international business and
Yes,
global marketing.
yes.
So what's more specialized you are
Now today
delivering.
we have a today we have a very interconnected world. And
Right.
now, therefore, we have to understand also culture. And this is sort of the cornerstone of both successful international business on the strategic level, and marketing, global marketing is a part of this. And I'll give you later on also a brief example. Now, understanding and respecting cultural nuances enables brands to connect more with their audience. So let me give you an example. When McDonald's, we call it the McDonaldization,
Right.
came to Germany, it was pretty easy to slice and dice a similar hamburger and milkshakes in Germany. But in France, it was already more difficult because French people like wine and white bread. So if you, for example, drive now a standardization strategy where you just transfer your US American domestic success model into Europe, you might face some opposition. Now, in China or in Korea, you like food which might be not very familiar for the American um, people. And therefore, McDonald's, in order to be successful there, had to tweak its strategy. So they had to, instead of using a global standardization strategy, they had to use a local adaptation strategy.
Right.
Now it's very similar in the political era. So some countries are very relation oriented. So when they build a relationship, trust is very important. So instead of now taking your country's ethnocentric political view or communication to this country, you have to adjust to the culture in order to build trust. Now, let me give you a very simple example to make this clear. When I came to India first, I would say, okay, don't call me professor, just call me by my first name. This is typical for the UK or US culture because it's very egalitarian. Now, this approach won't work very well in India. Now, the first thought is, okay, if I offer my first name from my culture, it creates trust, it creates sympathy. But Indian people like hierarchical structure.
Right.
So they call me professor, or when I say leave it out, they call me sir. Yeah. And they're very hierarchical. So what was my learning takeaway of this? In order to build trust, credibility, and form collaborative relationships, I have to adjust to the Indian culture, to their communication, to how they tick or how they work. And once you understand this, you build then the envisioned trust and credibility.
I see.
Now, this helps us when we understand culture, we recognize the cultural landscapes, we adapt or adjust our marketing message. We also build our product plethora around more local needs. McDonald's did this, for example, in Bavaria, by offering a pretzel or specific bakery which Germans like. And so it would be interesting to hear your point of view, how McDonald's tailored its offer.
I don't know about McDonald's, so
Yeah,
I haven't
okay.
know about McDonald's in here, but
Yeah,
I mean, I think business in most East Asia, they are free market system. I don't know
yes,
India is free market system or not because there are, I mean, in free market concept, we can say there is a less or non-government restriction, right?
Yeah,
Any
yes,
government control.
that's true.
But as
Yeah,
you mentioned, there are various restriction and it's not open to particularly to foreign companies and foreign businessmen. So,
yes.
what do you think should be open in India?
Yeah, now let me give you to India quickly. Uh, I can relate to this because I did yesterday actually a slide exactly to the topic you mentioned. Now, the Anglo-American, they are very, it's very much in free markets. The Germans are a bit in the middle. They have free markets, and but they have also a more social component. And this is also true for some of the states in the US. Now, the US has, uh, now let me give you an example. When we look at resource ownership and resource allocation, we have market capitalism, that is the Anglo-American principle. Uh, when I talk about Anglo-American, I refer to Canada, England, also the UK, and the US. And then you have a middle way between private market and state market socialism or social democracy, we call it in Germany. Then you have countries like Germany, France, Italy. Now, Norway is more like market socialism. They have a very safety net because they are very wealthy in terms of oil resources. Now, India, for example, is probably on the way more towards, as a long term, the next 10 years, towards where um, Norway or Germany and France are moving. And now China, Russia, Vietnam, they still have a very centrally planned socialism, whereas in Vietnam, you do not see the government really. They are very, you feel like you are in the United States or probably in South Korea. It's very agile, very strong growth rates, very diligent people, very positive, very agile. Yeah. Now, and let me
I
say
mean,
this. Yes,
communist country, but they open
yes,
economy very much.
yes, yes.
But India is
So
not communist. India is democracy country, but economy is not not that much open.
that is true. And now I was stunned because I was thinking when I applied for my visa, they hear I'm German, I'm American, and they say, welcome, because your nations fund a lot. So they stimulate here the economy. So, I mean, our chancellor was 2 weeks ago here. Indian colleagues told me, oh, your chancellor was here. He gave now 90,000 free visas for Indians. But now the big difference is they do no longer have to pass a German language exam because most Germans speak very well English. But the government in Germany, I think it was in the late 90s, they tried to recruit Indian technology people through offering a German format of the green card, but the Indians chose the United States due to English is their mother tongue, besides of Hindu, Urdu, and
Right.
other languages. Now, let me summarize it. Now, Amartya Sen, he's a Nobel laureate and a professor of Harvard University of Economics. He summarizes the identity of an individual is largely a choice. And as we make those choices, we learn to respect and value the choices of others. Now, how does this transfer into global marketing, or it boils it back to integrating cultural awareness and intelligence in global marketing and strategy. Now, here I want to briefly also give you an example. We had last week the Diwali festival, the Festival of Lights.
Right.
Now, if you come now from a different culture with an ethnocentric view, you might say, okay, I don't know what this is about. I'm perhaps intimidated. But once you understand the ultimate purpose, you figure out it resembles the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. It has some resemblance to the Christmas holiday, and then also to the Eid holiday of the Muslims. So there are certain similarities.
Right.
Now, and if you understand those similarities, instead of being judgmental, you embrace. You still have a different opinion, or you still have preferences for food, but we have to understand, if you now come to Germany, you have to adjust too,
Right.
because you enter a complete different eating culture. And so that's the same for me when I come to India. I have to adjust. I eat every day a bit, and so that I adjust over time.
I see. So, by the way, related to international business, how did you
Yes.
see a lot of global investor attracted India mostly compared to European and America, which
Yes.
are more interested to come to India for
Yeah.
investments from Europe or from America?
Now, this is a very good question, and I'm very new here. I have to say this, but I believe the political motivation behind investing or in the development of India is, when a nation prospers, when a country prospers, the better the education, and that's how Western democracies work. When the economy promises prosperity, when people have enough food on their table, then the democracy is safer. And when when poverty reigns and illiteracy and the education level is low, then of course that leads them to revolutions or upheavals. So in order to maintain peace, we look at each human's need. We want to have a happy family. If we are married, we want to have happy wives, happy kids. We want to prosper, we want to advance, we want to progress. But Asia Pacific is definitely on the rise. Uh, I have to differentiate. So, because to compare now America with Europe is a bit, like comparing apples with peaches. Uh, I would say the leading nations, as the US definitely, and also Germany. Germany has been very blessed. Without boasting, here it's the strongest economy in Europe. It has to do that after World War II, both German parts committed really to repay the debt occurred by World War II. And it has to do also with the ingrained culture of creating something, of being diligent, of being resilient, similar like South Korea. And so I would say why Germany invests so much in India is probably we want to avoid being too dependent on China. You know that China is supposed to overtake the US probably by 2030 in terms of the GDP. However, now today we had elections in the US, and when you look at the economy, I'm not going here into politics, but when you look into the investors, into the stocks uh, uh, for this day, you see when somebody is president of a country who tends to be more a business person, then of course investors invest there where there are opportunities. Now, today's economy is about capital revenue streams globally. It's no longer about uh, uh, manufacturing or employment primarily. It's about where do investors see a new opportunity. Now, and when there are wars uh, and political upheavals, then investors withdraw. If we look, for example, at Russia, Russia was in the beginning of the 90s, a lot of Western companies went to Russia. Now oligarchs are heavily invested in London. And then came the Ukraine crisis,